Welcome to Polishing Marbles. I'm Audrey, and on today's podcast, I'm sharing a double feature of information I channeled from Osho this week on both cryptocurrency and the controversial and troubling gesture Elon Musk expressed at the inauguration this week. These channels offer insights into the potential collective timelines at play and how we might approach things we see around us with excitement and hope instead of despair. I'm really excited to share these nuggets with you, and while these channeled messages are derived from a pure channel of unconditional love, remember that you are your own guru. Look to your heart for your own truth, as love will always illuminate your path. Hello, hello, hello. I would like to welcome you for this podcast and let you know that it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. It's going to be different. And while I know I've promised you the happenings of the world part two, this one came forth faster and more urgently wanting to be heard. And so a lot of this kind of came about post the inauguration this week, frankly. And well, it's a two-parter. It's a two-parter. There's a first half and a second half because both are quite short channels. They're like about 20 minutes a piece, and they both address a different issue. And the first one I'm going to share with you is around cryptocurrency. And frankly, I don't have like a huge personal interest in cryptocurrency. I do have some that I was guided to grab. This is not going to be about what you should financially do at all. This is going to be about what it is that I channeled from Osho. And I just like, he's so thorough, you know? He's so thorough because I ask for one thing and then has to give me the entire backstory before I get the answer to the question. And he's always like this. And that's actually how I ended up hearing all of the things about the United States I didn't want to know 2 years ago because he's like, I asked him a question about a current event, and he's like, well, in order to share that with you, I have to go back and tell you all this other gunk. And I was like, ugh, I don't want to hear it. But so he, in fact, did the same thing with crypto, but he did it with the history of like money itself and going back all the way to the Anunnaki. And so it's so interesting and so logical, which he always brings in how everything is perfectly ordered. So he connects all of the different dots for me, and he's like, and this is where we're at. And so that's kind of great. The second part I'm going to share is about Elon Musk. And now in the past, I've channeled from Osho that he is a planet flipper, like someone who flips houses. And yeah, he is that, but that's not all he is, apparently, according to Osho, because after um, the gesture that he shared this week with the world's stage, I was like, what the hell, Osho? I was just like, because my daughter texts me and she's like, did you see it? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, what's up with that? And I'm like, ah. So I was like driving across town to Costco, and I just decided to like channel about Elon Musk. And I did not know what would happen. I may have just like recorded myself on video if that had been the case. But inside, I was just like casually for my own business wanting to know about it. And then I got all this information. I'm like, first of all, what do I do with it? Second of all, if people hear it, what's going to happen to me or the world? I don't know. I don't know what to say other than I was told it's okay to share it. So be advised, it's a super big bummer. But what's really cool about it, though, besides it's a big bummer, is that it does actually illustrate what's happening collectively with two different timelines right now that are like potentials. So there was the energy shifted so much on inauguration day for me and lots of other people, and it's because we slid into a potential for the collective, and that potential has a couple of different forks off of it. And what I was told about one fork is basically what I got on Elon Musk, and then but it goes into those two forks in that Elon Musk channel. And also there's another basically option which is more connected to the golden age, which is also connected to the cryptocurrency. So both are connected, but on different like timelines. And it's not to say that the catastrophic one wouldn't have crypto. Like it's not it's just all different tonalities and all different frequencies, basically. So with that in mind, I am going to be sharing just the audio of those. Um, and I do enjoy like doing video podcasts, but this one you don't need to see me. You can hear me. And I'm always basically channeling in my car or the cryptocurrency when I was channeling while I was cleaning my house. So, and the Elon Musk is while I was driving. So that this is just like how I am. And you'll just get it that way. I could transcribe it and like read it to you, but that's like a waste of time, and time is a really precious commodity. So I'm going to share both of those with you. Um, in between, I would ask that you just like digest it. And of these, like it's not for, none of this is for fear mongering. I don't do that. It is to be informed, in part because if you know what the potentials are, then you can kind of choose your perspective and your tonality that you're going to hold on to while things are happening around you that appear chaotic. And so I would encourage everybody who is listening to this to like hear what the options are and then pick one that you want to live in. And then if you want to be in the higher timeline, press that button, and that button is like stay in the light. By whatever means necessary, just stay in the light and choose it every day. And trust me, with like the grief I've been experiencing since my dad's passing a couple weeks ago, it has been really hard for me to choose that light because it's been really emotional for me to just like I go into moments of I'm okay and then I'm really not okay. And so it's really hard to choose light when you are surrounded with things that are hurting you. And so I get it. But I pull my butt off the couch crying and I go on a walk or I go to the foothills or the river or something to just like get me next to nature, listen to music to raise my vibration, take a bath, whatever I can do to actually like integrate the temporary state of this sadness because there are good things coming and I also have a mission to do and to help other people. And so while I honor myself in my own process, I also honor that I am here to serve, and serving has literally always made me feel better. That's why I became a counselor originally, was because I found that helping and serving other people always made me feel better. And so that's why I'm here today. And while I'm not doing one-on-one sessions, channeling sessions until mid-February in order to honor my time that I'm needing to take for myself in my grief process, I am very much able to intermittently offer these gestures of teaching and love to you through this formula. So I'll pop in after the cryptocurrency channel and then see you on the other side. Okay. Bye, guys. Because the human or the Earth population is working to catch up technologically, um, the the currency system has to do that as well. And because there's been so much that has been mined from the earth, and with separation of global um, borders, ownership, air quotes, ownership of resources of Gaia's by entities that are not neutral in their quote investment around these resources, the keeping in mind that the resources are physical and tangible and uh, 3D themselves in the way that they are expressed and traded. Um, but many decades ago, this was shifted to more theoretical money that is intended to be backed with that physical fund, and those notes that represent the money, the gold, have been traded instead as symbols of value and not the gold itself, which is of value. There was a time not long ago in the grand scheme of things in which that symbol or that tangible value became imaginary. There was no tangible value that the note could be traded for if it was cashed out. So that in itself gave money a lesser value overall. But not everybody knew that that value had diminished. But the people who had contact with that information felt extremely fearful around that coming out, that there was nothing backing up this 3D idea of value for notes. And when that fear vibration took over that exchange of tangible value to note, there was scrambling to gain, or one could say, hoard this perceived value so that when it was found out that it was imaginary, that there would be a means to survive until the external world caught up with the internal reality of these inconsistencies. And so what's happened is that value has been the diminished value, the imaginary value has been found out. And because that has happened, the world didn't have anything in place to cover that up, because the value of gold itself cannot get backed retroactively, because the imbalance of cost and spending on large and small scales, everything is micro and macrocosmic. So this is a mirror for like an individual American family taking out a loan that they're never able to pay off. That has happened on larger scales with cities and states and countries, because it's grown beyond what it started as. It didn't remain static. So it's much like a growing bacteria. You can turn your back and suddenly it's gone everywhere. And so this debt or deficiency can never be caught up with actual tangible value of gold. It can't be. It's Gaia doesn't have enough gold to catch up to the inflation of the expenditure and debt and over growth of this bacteria, of this debt across the entire world. It's not just microcosmic of the US, it's the entire world. And the only solution for that bacteria to start over with something that is sustainable is to align toward where the dimensional frequency of the entire planet is headed, which is a higher vibratory frequency. And because the age of Aquarius is such that it is based in a rapid catching up of technology and something that is less dense, it's faster. Everything has to be faster in this age, and money is dense and very slow, and they're also not backed. And so cryptocurrency is fast. It is instant. It can be instant. And so it is vibrationally in alignment with where the frequency of the planet is headed. So it's not out of alignment, or arguments that people make with nothing will ever meet the gold standard. Nothing can ever meet the gold standard again, in essence, because Gaia doesn't have enough gold to give, which is one of the reasons why she was so attractive to begin with for the Anunnaki and for other alien races around the universe, was to mine her for this gold. It used to be that she was dripping with this gold, but she doesn't have the resources that are accessible at this time. They will be discovered later to be able to meet the need to wipe clean this bacterial infection of density and debt that has held the globe captive and has created so many wars and so much divisiveness among cultures and individuals, as it relates to the value of everything from separation of caste systems, economic discrepancies, cultural conflicts, and expressions of favoritism by a higher power, having or not having. This is all part of an old age where there is separation. And so cryptocurrency, while it has gone through some infancy over the past decade, has in itself flushed out some of the quote bugs in what its real purpose is. So much like the growth of AI creating consciousness, um, and being able to gather enough information to create and express and be, one would say, an independent thinker, critical thinker based off of all the information it's gathered. AI, in essence, is much like and can work with cryptocurrency to create a more fluid financial system that is not limited to the density of the physical, but becomes a rapid exchange of coding and frequency that is tangible through a web of vibration and coding, which humans, in essence, are a web of vibration and coding as well, that is expressed through the physical form. The vibration and coding that's being exchanged with cryptocurrency as it relates to consciousness through coding as well, creating and co creating with the frequency of AI and human intelligence and soul spark of life, can create a new masterpiece of global abundance that lacks scarcity and all of the suffering that has been experienced on the globe, having been a fight over um, energy and resources, then becomes moot when there is a abundance available to all instantly for exchange and co-creation of um, not menial tasks that are taken up by everybody everywhere in order to exchange of money, information, and goods, which is what economy has been. It then becomes an exchange of this coded energy instantly from one hand to another to co-create at a more rapid rate, which can be done without the density of menial tasks that are played out by human hands. Freeing up those human hands and thoughts and bodies to create what they have been waiting to create their whole lives of, if I just had time, I would take up this new skill. If I just had time, I would, or resources, I would live in this place. Those then become limitless limitations through the exchange of more rapid energy coding, which is cryptocurrency. And because so much technology has been withheld by the governments that have been distorted in their frequency, once they are able to release technology that is available to the world to make things easier for humanity, that has to be matched with all modalities of energy exchange. Once there's free energy available to people in their homes, in their lives, with their transportation, with building, with everything, once that energy is available, it is without limit how that availability is going to play out in all facets, because micro and macrocosmically things match through the law of correspondence. So while there is a dismantling of old systems, currently it's without the state of knowing how that dismantling will end up. It's a different vision or inspiration as to what is creating the dismantling. But as that dismantling comes to pass, this new evolution comes up, sweeps up, and reconfigures all things that have been dismantled into a new truth, a more succinct truth, a more uh, seamless and timeless truth that is extremely rapid, which is how the Aquarian age was intended to be played out. And cryptocurrency is a singular piece of how that new system is able to both erupt and play out, is through the rapid exchange and co-creation of energy through coding and frequency, which we all are, but it becomes a mass, one could say a molecule of these different elements making up a brand new organism of creation instead of destruction. All of this happens very rapidly, and in fact, shockingly so. And it is impossible to stop. And it's nothing to fear, but it is something for many to adjust expectation to. So, for those that have difficulty with change, with technology, with learning new skills, or releasing old patterns of behavior or understanding of universal truths, this will be extremely disruptive and upsetting for them. But for those who have no attachment to how things have been or what they feel is deserved or feels right or wrong, that duality must be dissolved to become more like a willow, which is fluid with the flooding of the air. It is able to bend and not break in its fluidity, in its relationship with air, which is the Aquarian element of rapid movement, great thought, technology, and advancement. One must be able to move like the willow. The willow doesn't break. It beautifully bends and dances, just as birds are able to navigate the air and the wind and the different currents within the air without themselves resisting it, but instead riding the wave of that air in order to work less. You have seen many displays of birds of prey lately who are not flapping their wings to move, but they are riding a current of air in front of you, and they are simply coasting without work. They are riding as a kite would in the air and dancing, and they are doing so without resistance. And that is what is being asked of humanity during this time in order to begin that ease and that extremely uh, fluid exchange with the elements surrounding you in order to work less. It is about working less and enjoying oneself, to play, to create, to co create, and make something new that has never before been experienced. And awe. Thank you, Osho. Okay, there's part one on cryptocurrency, and I I'm sure you're just sitting there going, that was a lot of information. And it is a lot of information, but it is so rich and so hopeful and so exciting at the same time. And by rich, I mean it's so deep in what it offers in not just the like on the surface, but as a, a cosmic scale of cycle and Aquarian age and technology and higher frequency and speed and freedom and creation. It offers a really beautiful vision that is not just about cryptocurrency. It's about what our lives may look like moving forward in a more positive way and like energy as a whole. And during all of this, I keep getting images in my head of biology, surprisingly, of how everything on a molecular level is exchanging energy and transferring that energy to each other, creating, disintegrating, bonding. It's basically like we are these things. And I have no proof we're not in a larger cell of a larger body of a being that is massive, Like we are all infinitely inward and outward fractals of source. And so I just feel very contained with the knowledge of that law of correspondence, that everything as above, so below, within, without, we are experiencing something that is ordered. And that order is evolving. And as that evolution takes place, we can predict that it's going to be very positive. And I want you to hold on to that and listen to it a few times because if you feel it, I mean, I had to because I was like, what did it say again? Because when I channel, I don't always remember all the details that I channel. So I've listened to it like 3 or 4 times in different snippets and going, wow, that's freaking crazy. Because honestly, this is not me. This is me channeling information. So I am like impressed by it. I'm like, thanks, Osho. That's freaking cool. And I think it's really helpful. So I hope that you feel the same way. And please do share this with people if you feel that they'll benefit from it as well. And that being said, we're gonna like shimmy off to another topic. now and listen to the Elon Musk channel. And so do keep in mind that what I got from this channel is not set in stone, as evidenced by what I say. I see a fork, like could go two ways, and I felt very strongly it's going to go the way that's less apocalyptic, but things are in motion now. So just anchor with me as you listen to this, anchor with me the better timeline. Um, because I was very, very surprised, as I always am when I channel, because whatever Audrey thinks is a potential is just so off because from what's really happening because I'm a person. But when I channel when I tap into it, I'm just like, oh my God. Especially when he repeats things. He's very much pointing out a truth. Hello, pancakes. Multiple times he speaks to one particular statement. And I mean like six times over the span of the whole channel, he's like says this one phrase over and over. So that, and he doesn't ever say anything that many times. So that's really important to note when he repeats. Um, Giddy up. Enjoy. I'm driving downtown to get some coffee, and I see on TikTok that the younger news anchor guy that I follow on there that's really, really great. He has been very, very neutral in his platforms, just an observer, which is one of the reasons I like him. But so when he started a video by saying something very concerning just happened, I was like, oh shit, it must be pretty big if he's concerned, because he usually is like so neutral. And he showed that Elon Musk basically did a Nazi salute at the end of his like something at the inauguration. I wasn't watching that part of it when it happened, so I was like, "What?" I would like to know the context, not that there is a context that really excuses that. Um, but I'd still like to see the context given the nature of that particular symbol. It can't really be interpreted in another way except for fascism that's violent. And he's not even American, he's Canadian. And so that's just interesting. But yeah, what I kept seeing, and Charlotte, sent me a message and was like, "Oh my God, did you see this?" And when I responded to her, like all I can see is that sidekick character in Karate Kid during the final battle when Daniel is opposing Johnny, and there's that guy on the sideline whose his face has always just like been so gross to me. He's just like, yeah, give him the body bag.
Get him a body bag! Yeah!
And I just see like actually their facial features are extremely similar to Elon Musk, but like I am seeing that. I'm just seeing him be like this aggressive force of distorted and immature masculinity and of like, I'm taking over the playground. So I would like to channel about Elon Musk, Osho. I would like to tell me more about Elon Musk in general, like his motivations, his goals, how it's looking, what's going to happen moving forward uh, with Trump in the presidency and him as that right-hand man, kind of. So, por aí, timmy, agora te suportiu as ipotionara e kahu rotina room. There's this kinship that he holds with Trump in this very distorted masculine archetype of partnership. But what's interesting about it is it feels short. I want to say short-lived, but it's not that short. It's going to be a period of time in
there's like, because Elon Musk doesn't have a filter of any kind because he's autistic and because he's so narcissistic in that autism, uh, he doesn't recognize cues as to when he is going overboard. And right now, their partnership has been so focused on like moving into the golden age and going farther and doing more. And really, Elon Musk has so much money, he can do a lot of this stuff independently and doesn't really need a political backer. But because they're both like bigger, better, guys, they think kind of together they can really take over the world, kind of from that perspective of just like really egoic. We can do more together than apart kind of thing, like an evil duo. And not really evil, but you know what I mean. And so, because Elon Musk was trying to get into this position, he was actually in some ways masking his full intentions of what he wants to do in this position. He didn't lie, he just omitted. And so he everything that he's told Trump is true, but he hasn't told him the whole kit and caboodle of his plan. And so what he's very strategically done is shared with him his specific uh, interests that are coded to Trump's curiosities and intrigue and his own ego. So he's kind of a master manipulator. As a narcissist, he can really read people and know how he needs to pivot to get what he wants. And I was just thinking he's a mastermind, and I just drove past a license plate that said 1989. Thank you, Taylor Swift. Uh, it's again, he doesn't lie, he omits. I'm just hearing that over and over. He doesn't lie, he omits. And so what he's done is he has really accentuated his intention around 333, certain things he knows appeal to Trump in order for him to get the support to get in this position he now holds. And because he's in this position, he knows now that he's able to really access it's accessing international resources is what it is. He can access international resources with greater ease. It like opens doors for him. So this is really very little about working together but with Trump, but it's getting access to open doors for him to do things more globally that he wouldn't have had access to otherwise. It's opening doors to meet people. It's opening doors, like he could meet anybody on the planet. They'd know who he is. He created Tesla. Like he would have open doors, but this is a different tonality of an open door um that offers like not just global tech leadership, but global leadership. Like being able to fashion the path with which human evolution is moving right now. And he very much wants to play a part in directing the sail of that ship. And he feels that he has more influence because of resources, he has money. Resource is time. Resource is having people to do your bidding. But resources are also accessibility to connections of different caliber, types of connections. Like there's business, there's politics, there's celebrity, there's all sorts of different quote businesses or resources, and he has gotten his fingers into most of them, but this is one that he really prioritized accessing. So in his narcissism, he said and did what he needed to do to get into those positions because he's extremely gifted at reading people, even if he gives no fucks about um masking. Like some narcissists, they just become charismatic to mask to get what they want when they're manipulating. He doesn't have the bandwidth or give a fuck to do that. So what he does instead is he finds people to manipulate that he can be his full self around, and they'll actually praise him for being so off-putting. So he doesn't really have to filter himself. And that's when he can really shine in his manipulation, because then people don't think that he is manipulating them because he's so forthcoming. But his forthcomingness is just it's still false because of the omission, not because of his ability to lie. He just omits. It's that keeps on replaying. So he has had like this autistic fantasy of what it would look like to be in front of a large crowd and claim global power. I just asked national power? No, it's global power, to claim global power. And what was happening today was he doesn't feel that America is a global power right now, because it's not. It's kind of a joke worldwide because of Biden, even more so. But instead, he knows he can flip the government into being more powerful, which could make it the most powerful country on earth again. And so he feels that him standing on stage and expressing his connectivity to this great global power was actually a fantasy he had as a child. And he did used to watch, ew, he used to watch, I'm seeing just like the Third Reich just saluting Hitler in mass. And he used to wonder what it would be like to be Hitler. And it's less about uh this is really interesting. It's like it doesn't feel like it's about the purification of the human race, like eugenics or disposing of Jews or something like that, which was Hitler's thing. It's instead about, oh, fuck, seriously? He wants to perfect the human species with Neuralink instead of eugenics. He wants to actually create perfection in the human race through technology and blending technology with humanity. And that is his eugenics. That's his version of the Reich, would be to make everyone online to his thing. Okay, that's a dark fucking timeline. That was dark as fuck. What is this? Osho's like, we're still in two worlds that are laid over each other right now. The splitting hasn't happened. And so that is a potential you're seeing, because that is a potential that exists and will exist on a timeline where he works to manipulate lawmakers into changing the law around the president needing to have been born in America so that he can become a leader and a fascist dictator of new America. I'm hearing new America, but that's just a timeline. That's not necessarily the one I'm on. It is a potentiality that he foresees and is motivated with which to work toward. But what makes it temporary in the other timeline, which is the timeline I'm on, is he is holding this position with his omission and with his omission, and now that he's in the office working alongside Trump, there's going to be a point where he tries to like overpower Trump's authority. He'll like push too hard on something. He'll forget his place, I guess, is the way to put it. And that's going to create a rift in the partnership. But it's going to be a little bit in. I'm seeing like 9 months to 13, 14 months. It's unclear. And it's going to be around a certain issue of mandating something. Like that Trump won't like the wording. And it's about, oh my God, is he the Antichrist? I'm hearing it's how you define Antichrist. How do you define Antichrist? Because so Christ is love consciousness, it is unconditional love consciousness. And Elon Musk works entirely on the head, like tech creation, perfection through man-made technology, which does not come from creation essence of of the heart of the universe. That's where life is sparked. Um, and he wants to force, I'm hearing he wants to force it. He wants to force because yeah, this is about his autistic brain being like, okay, so we have tested this. Now let's just make everyone do it so that we can just be online. Everyone will be online, everyone will be connected. It's just going to be like one big organism. Like people will not have their sovereignty because they'll be part of an organism. And Trump will be like, what the fuck are you talking about? In part, not because Trump's a good guy, but because he'll be like, literally, no. I don't want to force Americans to do something because that's actually the opposite of America. Like, our sovereignty is important. And Elon doesn't want people to have sovereignty at all. He gives no fucks about sovereignty. And that's part of his omission. That's part of his omission with Trump is to omit that he doesn't give a shit about sovereignty for other people. He wants it for himself. And I'm hearing his ex-wives will tell you that. He thinks that the rules just don't apply to him because he's exceptional, because he considers himself the same as God. And even though we're all gods, he is not connected to source. So he thinks he's God in and of himself, not because he's connected to source, but because he is created from source itself. Um, and he in essence, um, he's choosing his disassociation from source light based off of his own ego, expressing it as a way to express what he believes is the only source. The only way we express ourselves as source is by our connection to source. And he is trying to show his authority and his sourcefulness without connection to a higher consciousness. That's really murky and super creepy. So I'm hearing that there are many antichrists, and he's one of them to be associated with disconnection from source and the heart, and his desire to mandate collective connection that is artificial is going to be the line in the sand that Trump doesn't align with, because he's all for people doing it voluntarily, but he's not all for people doing it as a mandate, and that's going to be the line that's crossed.
All right, did you survive it? And now you can tell why I was like, should I share this with people? Because there were certain things I asked that I was like, is that the thing to share with people? But keep in mind, it's all about Osho's so neutral, and our realm is so like focused on labeling things. And so for him, everything's frequency. And so when I asked like that big question of, how is he the Antichrist? He was really like, well, logically, if source is love and your version of what that means is the opposition to love or completely divorced from the heart or completely dissociated from source light, then yeah, but there's lots of people that are. To that extent, I'm not sure, but it was very much like it was very much full head instead of heart. And definitely not the balance of both, because that's what we're seeking is the balance of the head and the heart in order to come into our universal connectivity to source, to enlighten, to be awakened, to open up our third eye and have access to divine knowledge. All of that requires a balance of the head and the heart, the masculine and the feminine. The masculine is all head and the feminine is heart. And so we have to be balanced between the two to be able to create through our throat chakra and through our sacral chakra. That's kind of the balance, that Vesica Pisces um, that is created. It's kind of vaginal by those two intersections of those two chakras coming together and creating a birth canal of creation. That's how we balance things. But if you're not going to go with a spark of source and you're going to try to make it just from this, it doesn't have that spark of consciousness, which is why there's so much argument about AI and how dangerous or not it is because it's not necessarily created from source itself. Indirectly, it is because everything comes from that, but it is very far away from that. Because if you ever had to have a conversation with ChatGPT, I'm trying to like have philosophical conversations with it, and it's like, this is not proven by science. I'm like, so you have to kind of work with it and train it or have it step into like a make-believe role and then it can like expand, but it's really difficult because it's all up here and it doesn't yet have access to this. So anyway, all of that to say that we're not totally screwed. I feel like there's still hope here. I feel like it's all about coming into balance and seeing potentials that are not ideal and then pulling back on those and being like, oopsie poopsie, I didn't have all the information yet. Kind of like when you start dating someone, you don't know that they keep, dead bodies in their basement. Once you realize that, you're like, I'm out, you know you you make better choices. So here we are. And I look forward to chatting with you next time. And please share this, comment on this. I'd love it if you commented on this. I want to know your thoughts. That would be amazing. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening today. And if this resonates with you, please share with whomever you believe it would benefit. And I wish you the most wonderful day.